He's either going to go around you, and this is why I feel he reminds me of Larry Bird. He moves at his speed.
That's true.
You can't keep up with his speed, which is no speed in the whole idea of what speed is. He plays in a whole different environment.
Jokic can win his championship. No one's going to care. Let's just be honest. I'm sorry. He's not going to go from where he is right now to this super mega star because he's not doing anything kids want to see. He doesn't have it.
This is the real reason Nikola Jokic sucks. And if you don't agree with me, you don't know ball. Yeah, I said it. The so-called best player in the world, a two-time MVP, an NBA champion, averaging a triple-double this season, and I'm telling you, he sucks, but not for the reasons you think. Because the real problem with Jokic goes deeper than stats, deeper than highlights, and it's something that's got basketball fans completely divided. Let me start by saying something that's going to sound completely insane. Nikola Jokic might be the least exciting superstar in NBA history. And I know what you're thinking. How can a guy who throws no-look passes and drops dimes from half court be boring? But stay with me here. When Jokic plays basketball, he doesn't look like he's trying. He moves around the court with all the urgency of someone shopping for groceries on a Sunday afternoon. There's no explosive first step, no powerful dunks that shake the rim, no trash talk or chest pounding after big plays. The man literally jogs up and down the court looking like he'd rather be back home in Serbia riding his horses. And for a lot of basketball fans, especially the younger generation that grew up on highlight culture, that's a problem. Think about every other modern superstar for a second. LeBron James bursts through the lane like a freight train. Giannis Antetokounmpo takes 3 steps from half court and throws down posters. Ja Morant defies gravity on every possession. Even Luka Dončić, who isn't exactly known for his speed, has that flash and flair in his game. But Jokic? The guy scores 30 points and you barely notice half of them happening. According to a study done by sports analytics company Second Spectrum in 2023, Jokic ranked dead last among all NBA players in what they called high-intensity movements per game. He averaged just 14 explosive actions per 48 minutes compared to the league average of 32 for star players. But here's where it gets interesting. This exact thing that makes people say he sucks is actually what makes him great. Jokic has figured out something that most players never learn.
Felt like all of those shots felt like they was easy shots, you know. And he just played a game at a pace that you can't speed him up, you know. Fluster him, he's strong, he can make every shot. I hate when he makes shots because he's so unorthodox, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a miss, and then it goes straight in. You know, he's incredible.
Basketball isn't about how hard you play, it's about how smart you play. While everyone else is sprinting around the court burning energy, Jokic is walking through defenses like he's got the answers to the test. Let me give you a specific example. Game 3 of the 2023 NBA Finals against Miami. Jokic dropped 32 points, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists. He shot 12 of 16 from the field. Absolutely dominant performance. But if you watched that game without looking at the box score, you might have thought he had a quiet night. There were no posters, no ankle breakers, just simple layup after simple layup, soft jumper after soft jumper, basic pass after basic pass that somehow resulted in wide open threes. The Heat's Bam Adebayo said after the game, and I'm paraphrasing here, that guarding Jokic was frustrating because you're doing everything right and he still scores. Now let's talk about the defense argument, because this is where the Jokic haters really come alive. They'll point to his lateral movement, his lack of rim protection compared to true defensive centers, his inability to switch on the guards. And you know what? They're not completely wrong. Jokic isn't winning Defensive Player of the Year anytime soon. During the 2022-23 championship run, Denver ranked just 19th in defensive rating during the regular season. That's middle of the pack at best. But here's the thing nobody wants to admit. In the modern NBA, individual defense matters way less than people think. Basketball has become so offense-oriented that even the best defensive players can only do so much. What really matters is team defense, positioning, and most importantly, not being a complete liability. And despite what the eye test might tell you, Jokic isn't a defensive liability. He's actually pretty decent at reading plays, using his massive frame to take up space and getting in passing lanes. According to NBA.com's defensive tracking data, Jokic held opponents to 52.4% shooting at the rim last season. For comparison, the so-called defensive anchor Rudy Gobert held them to 51.8%. The difference? Gobert does it with athleticism and timing. Jokic does it by just being big and smart. The athleticism thing is really what drives people crazy, though. We live in an era where NBA players are supposed to be these ultra-athletic freaks of nature. They're supposed to have six-pack abs and run like Olympic sprinters. Jokic shows up looking like he ate too much at Thanksgiving and somehow dominates anyway. He's listed at 284 pounds, but if we're being honest, he's probably closer to 290 on a good day. The man openly admits he drinks Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola. Can you imagine LeBron James chugging a Coke before a playoff game? It would break the internet. There's actually a deeper cultural thing happening here that people don't talk about enough. The NBA has always celebrated a certain type of player, the high flyer, the trash talker, the guy with the killer instinct who wants to rip your heart out. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. These guys had that edge, that meanness. They wanted to embarrass you. Jokic doesn't have that at all. After hitting a game winner, he looks like he's mildly pleased at best. When Denver won the championship in 2023, Jokic's first thought was reportedly about getting back to Serbia for horse racing season. His post-game interview after winning Finals MVP was basically, "Yeah, that's cool. Can I go home now?" For American basketball culture, this is almost offensive. We want our stars to care as much as we do. We want them to live and breathe basketball 24/7. We want the revenge tour narratives and the legacy talk. Jokic just wants to play basketball, collect his paycheck, and go hang out with his horses. In an interview with the Denver Post in 2022, he literally said, "Basketball is not even top 3 things I love in life." Can you imagine any other MVP saying that? And this brings me to what might be the most controversial part of the anti-Jokic argument. Some people genuinely believe he's winning MVPs and getting praise because the NBA wants to appeal to international audiences. Now, I'm not saying I agree with this take, but it exists and it's worth examining. The conspiracy theory goes something like this. The NBA is a global business. Having an Eastern European superstar who isn't built like a Greek god makes basketball feel more accessible to regular people around the world. It's good for business. Here's what we actually know. Jokic won MVP in 2021 and 2022. Both years had legitimate arguments against him. In 2021, Joel Embiid arguably had a better season but missed time due to injury. In 2022, Giannis was putting up insane numbers and leading his team to wins. The voting was close both times. And the fact that a relatively unathletic, slow-footed center kept winning over guys who looked the part made people suspicious. ESPN's voter tracker showed that international media members voted for Jokic at a higher rate than American voters in both years. Make of that what you will. But let's be real for a second. The idea that Jokic is some kind of affirmative action MVP is ridiculous. The man put up 24.5 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 9.8 assists while shooting 58% from the field in 2021 to 22. Those are video game numbers. You don't accidentally average nearly a triple-double on elite efficiency. The advanced stats back him up too. He led the league in player efficiency rating, box plus minus, value over replacement player, and basically every catch-all metric that exists. Unless you think the nerds who create these formulas are also part of some international conspiracy, you have to admit the guy is legitimately great. So why does any of this matter? Why are we even having this conversation? Because Nikola Jokic represents a fundamental shift in how we think about basketball excellence. For decades, we measured greatness by athleticism, scoring ability, and championship DNA. Guys who could take over games with pure will and talent. Jokic doesn't fit that mold at all. He's proof that basketball IQ and skill can trump physical gifts. He's proof that you don't need to be the fastest or strongest or most athletic to dominate. And for purists who fell in love with basketball because of Jordan and Kobe, that's a hard pill to swallow. There's also the highlight reel problem. In 2024, attention spans are shorter than ever. People watch games through Twitter clips and Instagram reels. They want the jaw-dropping plays. They want the moments that make you jump out of your seat. Jokic doesn't provide that very often. His brilliance shows up in full game context, not in 10-second clips. You have to actually watch Denver games from start to finish to appreciate what he does. And let's be honest, how many people are doing that outside of Denver fans? I looked up the numbers on this. During the 2023 playoffs, Jokic's highlight videos on NBA's official YouTube channel averaged about 800,000 views. LeBron's averaged 2.3 million. Steph Curry's averaged 1.9 million. Even Jimmy Butler's Heat run was getting more views per highlight. This matters because the NBA is an entertainment product. If your best player isn't entertaining to casual fans, that's a problem for the league's marketing. You can't build a global brand around a guy who looks bored while he's dominating. The international aspect of this whole thing also can't be ignored. European players have always faced more skepticism in the NBA. Dirk Nowitzki spent years being called soft before he won a championship. Pau Gasol was constantly disrespected despite being a 7-time All-Star. There's this underlying assumption that European players don't have the same toughness or competitive fire as American players. They're skilled, sure, but they're missing that edge. Jokic feeds right into that stereotype by being so emotionally flat on the court. But here's a stat that should shut everyone up. Since Jokic became the Nuggets' primary option in 2019, Denver has won 58.7% of their regular season games. That's a 48-win pace over an 82-game season. They won a championship in 2023. They've consistently been a top 4 seed in the brutal Western Conference. All this with a roster that, outside of Jamal Murray, isn't exactly stacked with superstars. Aaron Gordon is a nice player. Michael Porter Jr. is talented but inconsistent. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a solid role player. That's it. That's the supporting cast around Jokic, and they won a championship. Compare that to other recent MVPs. Giannis had Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. Embiid has had various all-stars around him and still hasn't made the finals. Jokic has been carrying a significantly weaker roster to better results. But because he does it without the flash and excitement, people downplay it. There's also something to be said about the context of when Jokic emerged as a superstar. Right around 2020 to 2021, the NBA was dealing with some serious issues. TV ratings were declining. The play-in tournament was getting mixed reviews. Load management was frustrating fans who paid money to see stars sit on the bench. The league needed someone who represented old-school reliability and consistency, someone who played almost every game and didn't need rest days. Jokic played 73 games in 2021 and 74 games in 2022, 2021 to 22. In an era where superstars regularly sit out 20-plus games a season, that durability matters. But let's get back to the main criticism, the one that really sticks. Jokic plays basketball like he's filling out paperwork. There's no passion, no fire, no emotion. And in a sport that's become as much about personality as performance, that's a death sentence for your public perception. Think about the most beloved players in NBA history. They all had something extra. Magic Johnson's smile, Larry Bird's trash talk, Jordan's competitiveness, Shaq's personality, LeBron's chase for greatness, Curry's joy. What does Jokic have? A slight smirk when he makes a good pass? That's not exactly building a global fan base. Former NBA player and current analyst Kendrick Perkins has been one of Jokic's most vocal critics. He's repeatedly questioned the MVP awards, suggested that other players deserve them more, and basically accused the media of having a bias toward Jokic. Now, Perkins isn't exactly known for his nuanced takes, but he's tapping into something real. There's a significant portion of basketball fans who look at Jokic and think, that guy is not my MVP. Whether it's fair or not, perception matters in sports. And let's talk about the elephant in the room, race. Basketball is a predominantly black sport, both in terms of players and culture. The style of play, the fashion, the music, the attitude, it all comes from black American culture. When a white European player becomes the face of the league, even temporarily, it makes some people uncomfortable. They see it as the NBA trying to appeal to white suburban audiences or international markets at the expense of authenticity. Again, I'm not saying this criticism is fair or valid, but it exists, and pretending it doesn't is dishonest. The analytics revolution has also played a role in Jokic's rise and the backlash against him. Modern NBA analysis is dominated by statistics and efficiency metrics. Things like true shooting percentage, offensive rating, win shares, and VORP. Jokic dominates all of these categories because his game is incredibly efficient. But this has created a divide between the stats nerds who think Jokic is obviously the best player in basketball and the eye test crowd who think he's overrated. It's become a proxy war for how we evaluate players in general. Here's a perfect example of this divide. In January 2024, Jokic had a game where he scored 26 points on just 11 shot attempts, grabbed 14 rebounds, and dished out 16 assists. The Nuggets won by 18 points. By every statistical measure, it was a perfect performance. But if you scroll through social media after the game, you'd find thousands of comments saying things like 26 points in a win, that's your MVP? They completely ignored the assists and rebounds and efficiency because the scoring number wasn't eye-popping. This is what Jokic deals with constantly. His greatness doesn't fit into traditional boxes. The playoff narrative is another interesting one. Jokic has been accused of not showing up in big moments, of being too passive, of not having that killer instinct. These criticisms were loud before the 2023 championship run. But here's the thing. He averaged 30.2 points, 13.5 rebounds, and 9.5 assists in those playoffs while shooting 58.3% from the field. He dominated the Lakers. He dominated the Suns. He dominated the Heat. And he did it all while looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. That Finals MVP should have ended the conversation about his playoff performance. But it didn't. People found new things to criticize. Let me share something that I think gets to the heart of why people say Jokic sucks. In March 2023, Denver played the Clippers in a nationally televised game. Jokic had 23 points, 16 rebounds, and 8 assists in a comfortable win. After the game, a prominent NBA Twitter account posted, "Another boring Jokic game. Wake me up when he does something exciting." That tweet got 15,000 likes. 15,000 people agreed that a near triple-double in a win was boring. That's the battle Jokic is fighting. He could average 40, 20, 15, and people would still complain that he's not dunking enough. The media narrative around Jokic has also been weird. ESPN and other major outlets clearly don't know how to market him. They can't sell his personality because he doesn't have a marketable personality. They can't sell his athleticism because he's not athletic. They can't sell drama because he doesn't create any. So they default to talking about his stats, which makes casual fans tune out. It's a vicious cycle. So, why does Nikola Jokic suck? Well, he doesn't. Not really. But in the eyes of casual fans, he absolutely does. He doesn't dunk on people. He doesn't talk trash. He doesn't post cryptic tweets or do podcast tours. The guy just shows up, plays basketball better than almost anyone alive, and goes home to his horses. In an age where every athlete is a brand, Jokic's indifference feels almost offensive. He's not selling anything. Not his image, not his story, not even himself. And that's why people think he sucks. He breaks every rule of what a modern superstar is supposed to be. He's not flashy, he's not emotional, and his highlights don't pop on TikTok. He's the anti-entertainer in a league built on entertainment. Fans want explosions. Jokic gives them equations. They want alley-oops and step-backs. He gives them perfect angles and precise passes. According to Cleaning the Glass, the Nuggets are actually better when he shoots less because his greatest weapon isn't scoring, it's orchestration. But playmaking doesn't make SportsCenter. Scoring does. People also hate that he's changing the NBA. He represents European basketball. Team first, methodical, efficient, not the flashy, ISO-heavy style Americans grew up on. He's proof you can win with brains instead of bounce, and that drives people crazy. He's not exciting, he's not obsessed, and he's not chasing fame. And somehow, he's still winning. So yeah, if your definition of greatness is athleticism, flash, and clout, then sure, Jokic sucks. But if your definition is skill, IQ, and winning basketball, he might just be the best player in the world.